Well, the day is finally here. The Nintendo Switch 2 is out, and I played Pokemon Scarlet and Violet on it after the new update that increases the performance, and here is what I think. So hopefully for the video I'll be showing the footage side by side, and you can really see I kind of tried to recreate some things, but I also really did try to play as if I were just playing. Well, yeah, I did try to make it look good for the camera, but also when I play I move around a lot, I move the camera a lot, and you'll probably see more of that later on with some of the mass outbreaks that I ended up investigating. So yes, it does run at 60 frames per second, and it is pretty consistent. I notice, little drops here and there, but for the most part it is really weird to just see this. Like for a Pokemon game, it almost just feels like it isn't Pokemon. Like it looks so uncanny. But yes, obviously the performance is so much better. It runs extremely well in, especially the weird areas that we know from Scarlet and Violet, like the Tag Tree Thicket, Casserolia Lake, and so on and so on. Oh, the Bamboo Forest, that was the one also. Obviously it still looks like the same game. The visuals are apparently upgraded, but for the most part the textures look the same, and maybe if anything you kind of notice it looking a little, maybe not worse, but you see exactly what everything looks like now that it's a lot more crisp. And if anything, while playing this, I think I also noticed how slow that Koraidon and Miraidon actually are. I mean, yeah, they go fast, but when the game is actually running at 60 frames per second and is actually functioning very well, it almost feels like you're going slower and that you really do need to run everywhere. Meanwhile, playing the old version, it always just kind of felt like you were underwater anyway. I did notice that, yeah, a lot more Pokemon spawn, and if anything, it almost became a problem just because of how the encounters work in this game, in the sense that whenever you get slightly close to a Pokemon, it triggers a battle, and then even after exiting that battle, there are a bunch of Pokemon waiting to just battle you again. So yeah, that also just really highlights some of the clunkiness of Scarlet and Violet as a whole. Oh yeah, load times are also a lot quicker. One thing I really appreciate is that the map just works and loads up a lot faster and moves a lot faster too. Like I said, playing Scarlet and Violet on the original Switch is okay, but a lot of the times it does just really feel like you are like underwater. That's the best way I could describe it. And yeah, I did go ahead and play in other places, and it really is just more of the same in terms of like, yeah, just everywhere it functions a lot better. And now it's time for thoughts on the overall thing. I know there's a lot of hot debate going on about it, because there is the feeling going around like, oh, it took this long for the game to actually be finished or for it to run the way it should. And also the feelings like, oh, I need to buy a Nintendo Switch in order for this game to look good, slapping the whole like, oh, pay an extra $500 for the Pokemon game to play the way it's supposed to. And obviously it isn't that simple, because like, yeah, it is a whole console upgrade, and this is gonna last you for even more years. I mean, it's been 7 years since the first Nintendo Switch came out, so obviously this one is gonna last another 7 years, so you take that into consideration. Probably I'll do a different discussion on like the price as a whole, but for now the feeling is that it took almost 3 years for Scarlet and Violet to feel the way it should. And yeah, I'm not exactly the happiest about that. Though if anything, it does kind of validate a lot of my feelings that I had for Scarlet and Violet. Yes, I did really like these games, and they were fun and they were cool, and I enjoyed them when they came out, but after playing the games and finishing the first time, I maintained the feeling that I did not think Game Freak was ready to make this game. Yeah, Legends Arceus was really cool, and that one did pretty well and worked well, but in terms of like a full-on open world game that was developed at the same time as that one, and trying to increase the graphical fidelity for things like the Pokemon, but not necessarily the landscapes, and again, having basically a full-on open world with the Pokemon formula, yeah, I just really did not think they were ready. Coming from Sword and Shield into this, it was really genuinely a big step, especially when you have things like Koraidon and Miraidon, and just the sheer scale of it. In the original games, yes, there were all these big landscapes, but a lot of the times there wouldn't be enough Pokemon to fill it out, or at least it wouldn't feel like that because they wouldn't load in. The movement and traversal felt alright, but like I said, in terms of wild encounters, I think those could have done better. And of course, there is just the obvious thing of performance. It really lagged in busy places. The story and the characters, a brand new Pokemon of Scarlet Violet, all great, but in terms of the video game portion, if you had asked me what was wrong, I would say I think that a magazine company decided to make a 3D open world video game, because that is literally what happened. And after playing Scarlet and Violet the first time, I really held the opinion that I don't want to ever see an open world Pokemon video game ever again. Yeah, it was a fun idea, but if the rest of them were gonna feel and play like this, then I did not want it. And yeah, really culminating in my final opinion that I think that Game Freak was not ready for Scarlet and Violet. And I don't necessarily mean that solely in terms of things like Game Freak's skill set, but also, maybe things of like, hey, the console itself. Because so many other games, even if they don't get like a full update, just run a lot better on Nintendo Switch 2 anyway. Because yeah, the original one came out 7 years ago and was a children's tablet. The Switch 2 is a lot more of a premium console. Still technically behind, but for a handheld, it does much better. So what I'm saying is that had Scarlet and Violet had the slightly longer development time on top of coming out on the Nintendo Switch 2, that's what I think should have been the solution. Not just like, oh, they should have delayed Scarlet and Violet a year, because, you know, what really would that have done when you were using the toaster that is a Switch 1? So overall, what I'm really saying is that I think the first big open world Pokemon video game should have been Generation 10. Maybe that one's like a really hot take, but really I would just go ahead and use this footage of Scarlet and Violet between the two games as my evidence. To kind of wrap things up, I guess I'll go back to talking about like the comparison between the two. We had a mass outbreak event in Scarlet and Violet with Porygon, and you can see some of the footage of like loading things up. You know, maybe I should have picked a different area that actually has it a little more flat so you can kind of better see all the Pokemon spawning in. But if you've played the game or watched footage before, you should know generally what the mass outbreaks look like. So now this week with the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out, there is mass outbreak events for Porygon 2. You can really see just how many of them load up. So that does make it very interesting, say especially for shiny hunting. Because so many more Pokemon are going to be showing up on screen, you're going to have to spend a little extra time to determine whether or not there are shinies in that batch. Sure, you're going to be given more Pokemon, so technically in each outbreak you're going to get a higher chance of finding that shiny sooner maybe, but because there are going to be more Pokemon to manage, you're really going to need a sharp eye. And hey, if you want to see me try to find a shiny Porygon 2 looking through the mass outbreaks, you can follow me on Twitch, because I might be streaming that Saturday morning maybe. But overall, I guess those are some of my thoughts of Scarlet and Violet on the Nintendo Switch 2. For the console itself, I've got some different thoughts, and in terms of whether you should get it or whether you should get Scarlet and Violet, that's something else I'll discuss. But overall, I really do like the console. It's really neat. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you seen any gameplay and what do you think of it? Or have you gotten a Nintendo Switch 2 and what are your feelings of playing Scarlet and Violet on that? Anyway, I should get back to work and finish things up so I can really enjoy my weekend of playing with my new Nintendo toy. Thank you to every channel member for your support, including the Great Gators, Shash, Cosmo Zero, Cloud 8 Does Stuff, R. Legier Design, Justin Dows, Joe C, 02, Alex with Shiny Hunts, Tyler Hopper, Lockadox, Koi 13, Cemetery Hill, Cheese at 62, Gator Kid 509, TF, Mathaclog 947, Taijirai, Justin R, Phantom, and Quago. If you would like to support, see your name here, get access to emotes for comments, live streams, sometimes early videos, and our monthly members podcast, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky as well for more memes. Anyway, this is GatorX, and I'll catch you all later.
Gamefly is the best way to try new games. Rent it, love it, buy it at a discount, or send it back. Our members swap the games they want on their schedule. Visit Gamefly.com today to join. You must be 18 or older to subscribe.